As we continue to shed more light on the diplomatic relations between Zimbabwe and other nations, today we are at the Embassy of Palestine, where I'll be talking to His Excellency, the Ambassador of Palestine to Zimbabwe, Tamer Almassri. Let me go inside and have a word with him. Ambassador, welcome to the program.
I thank you. Welcome.
Excellent, excellent. So let's begin the discussion by getting to know a little bit about yourself. Would you want to tell us who Ambassador Tamer Almassri is?
Maybe difficult to describe yourself, but for me, I'm a Palestinian citizen.
Okay.
Before I became a diplomat or ambassador, and to be a Palestinian citizen, you should defend a cause, or you should recognize that you are under the last occupation in the 21st century. I think this small or short description can give you an idea about any Palestinian. For me, I'm maybe young ambassador, but I lived on my life 2 intifadas, every intifada 7 years.
Sorry, say that again.
I lived in my life 2 intifada. The intifada is like Palestinian popular struggle against the Israeli occupation. So I can say that from my early childhood, as all the Palestinians, we didn't live as the children live everywhere because we are under the occupation. Maybe I take you to politics directly, but actually I cannot ignore the political situation and its influence on my character.
Let's move on and talk about your tenure in Zimbabwe. How has it been so far?
I want to tell you something. For me, I feel myself here comrade.
Okay.
It's very important. And I'm not shy to announce that all the time. Okay. Because my background is the PLO, Palestine Liberation Organization. Okay. And we are proud of our common history with our people and the national movement of Zimbabwe before. So I came with this kind of appreciation of that history together. Okay. So when I came here in Zimbabwe, I concentrated on myself to live natural. My nature or my nature environment is the comradeship, friendship, and the warm environment. I find myself here with the local people. I think I can say, or I can claim that I am a very communicative person with the local community, okay, with the civil society, and with the parties. I'm talking about our comrades in ZANU-PF, okay, with also the government. There is all the time personal touch. Even if you are diplomat, ambassador, teacher, minister, but you have your personal touch. And I'm proud that my personal touch.
Ambassador, I want to move you to the next question.
Yes. Yes.
Now, you spoke briefly about friendship and how you feel warm, how you feel at home in Zimbabwe.
Yes.
Is this why you are studying Shona? I've just been told
yes. By the way,
you're doing Shona lessons. Tell us briefly, how are they going?
Let's say that when I came to my first week here in Zimbabwe, I asked from my colleagues, the local staff, that please teach me some words or teach me some sentences,
Okay.
just to enable me to
Communicate and
to
relate.
communicate or appreciate some situations in the life with the people here.
Sure.
Actually, I answered a question to the media about this issue. Then I discovered that they are talking that the Palestinian ambassador is talking Shona, or I hope. Actually, the Shona is very rich language and very oriented with the culture of the people here.
Sure.
And I think it deserves a lot of efforts to learn it and to communicate with the civil society. And by the way, I know that you want to jump to your next question, but I like this custom in Shona that you give every person a name from the nature.
Okay.
So,
excellent. Excellent. Excellent.
So actually, I'm proud of that because my local staff gave me a name.
Yeah, I hear they call you Mofu. Now, as we wrap up this segment, Your Excellency, what is your best Shona phrase? One sentence, please. Okay, you tell me that later.
Do you know, my colleagues try to teach me some sentences just to flattering people.
Wonderful.
But sometimes I say, no, you should avoid these sentences. And he is the master, my colleague.
He is the master.
Yes, he
All
is
right.
laughing now.
All right, Ambassador.
So I will not repeat it.
Thank you.
Yes.
Ambassador, thank you so much.
Yes.
I'm talking here to Ambassador Tamer Almassri. He is the Palestinian ambassador to Zimbabwe. And we are taking a short break. When we return, we focus on the Israeli-Palestinian relations. Welcome back to the second segment of the Diplomat Couch. I'm speaking to the Palestine ambassador to Zimbabwe, His Excellency Tamer Almassri. Now, when we went to the break, we had just covered his personal life, and we now want to move on and talk about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Your Excellency, I know that this is a sensitive, it's an emotive issue for both nations. Now, how is the situation back home?
The situation actually that the Israeli apartheid occupation is continuous to our homeland of Palestine, and unfortunately the racism of the Israeli occupation repeats in details the racism in South Africa and Zimbabwe before the independence. And maybe they are developing nowadays the ways how to oppress the people and how to humiliate the humanity in the 21st century. I can say that the Israeli leadership destroyed totally the chances or the opportunities to solve the conflict, and they are trying to start religious war, especially in Jerusalem, by preventing the Muslim and the Christian nations of their worship in the old city or the holy city of Jerusalem, the Palestinian capital. I can say that the Israeli occupation nowadays became totally apartheid regime, and it should be recognized by the international community as apartheid regime. Before the UN, the United Nations, recognized the Zionism as a kind of racism. And for many years, nowadays I think they became worse and worse. And we have job and duty to talk about the Israeli occupation, to talk about the Israeli violation, to talk about the Israeli racism, to talk about the Israeli crimes daily in Palestine. Last month, they committed aggression against the civilians in Gaza Strip. And they said that we achieved the victory. Congratulations, Israel, and also the people or the countries who support Israel by killing more than 30 children and women. If they are proud of that, to kill civilians, it's easy to kill civilians everywhere. But it is not easy to keep the criminals without punishment and without judge. Unfortunately, the international community leave Israel without punishment and without judge. And we should nowadays look to the picture from all aspects to recognize that Israel is behaving as a country above the international community. This is unacceptable. As we refuse the Israeli racism against the Palestinian people, we also, in front of you, refuse and condemn totally the Israeli racism against the African and the black color. It is not acceptable to, especially if you want to follow up the Israeli official and public and social behaviors against not the African immigrants who are targeting and shooting them like you are shooting impala in the borders and put them in a prison or a private jail for Africans with the black colors. No, sad. But also against the Jews from African origins. They have racism. And if you don't remember, I will remind you of the popular objection or refuse of the Jewish community from African, especially the Ethiopian origin, against the Israeli governments in 2018. I think we should be aware not only about the Israeli crimes against the Palestinian people, but also the Palestinian people pay solidarity with all our brothers and sisters in Africa who are suffering from the discrimination and racism in Israel, even if they are visiting it as tourists. Yes.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for shedding more light on what is happening during the conflict. Now, for the benefit of our viewers who may not be aware of the source of the conflict between Israel and Palestine, what is the source, briefly?
Briefly, Palestine was a country for Arabs, Muslims, and the Christians. And we have short or small minority of the Jews. Until now, they live in Nablus and they are Palestinians. They didn't change their nationality. They refuse Israel and they think that it's against the will of the God. Unfortunately, when the Jewish community suffered from the, what can I say, the bad discrimination in Europe, they started to come to Palestine as immigrants. Okay. We received them, we gave them the jobs, we gave them even the homes, and they started to work with us. Then they started to build their, what we call like compounds, like nowadays settlements, okay, for only Jews. Step by step, they like our country. And after, but it's very important, I hope that you will give me 2 minutes. Okay. After that, during the First World War, the First World War. Russia wasn't a part at the beginning of that war. It's very important, brother. I should tell the people about the story of my country. I know that you have another question as a journalist, but put in your mind that I came to diplomacy from journalism background. A little bit. I want to tell you.
I just wanted us to take a short break, and then I'll give you an opportunity to continue when we return. Viewers, that's Ambassador Tamer Almassri, the Palestine ambassador to Zimbabwe. We're talking here the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, and as you can see, it's a very emotive issue. It's a very sensitive issue. Welcome back to the third segment of the Diplomat Couch, where I'm speaking to the Palestine ambassador to Zimbabwe, His Excellency Tamer Almassri. Your Excellency, at one point you are actually on record as having said that you would prefer to be called a comrade as opposed to His Excellency. Now, would you want to elaborate on this statement in relation to the bilateral relations between Zimbabwe and Palestine?
First of all, I cannot forget or I cannot ignore that until now, we are struggling against the Israeli apartheid occupation. So we still struggle. And for me, as a person and as ambassador, my cause doesn't finish. And we should be struggling as comrades against the Israeli apartheid occupation. So this is very important. And why I like to be called as a comrade, because I'm proud that the first Palestinian-Zimbabwe relation started from the comradeship background. And if you don't know, our relation didn't start after 1980 when Zimbabwe got its independence. No, our relations actually long, deep in history, because we were part of the supporters of the national movement in Zimbabwe and in the other African countries against the apartheid and occupations at that time. And I can say that the Palestine Liberation Organization has great relations with our comrades in ZANU-PF and ZAPO also.
Excellent.
Before 1980, we were struggling, and there is a lot of common military training, high solidarity support, common support, and also the Palestine Liberation Organization take the African cause of the countries who were struggling to get their freedom to some parts in the world, especially the Middle East, the Muslim nations, the Arab world. We take your issues with us as you take our issue, the Palestinian issue, in Africa with you. So this is the real concept of solidarity. So until now, I'm proud to say this comradeship doesn't finish, and it will not be finished, and it will continue. And we are comrades.
Thank you, Your Excellency. We are running out of time, so I'll allow you to answer one last question. Are there any activities that the Embassy of Palestine is carrying out in Zimbabwe towards the attainment of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals? We could call it Agenda 2030.
Let's say something. I think one question is not enough, but I want to conclude. I want to answer maybe from your question, and also I want to add something. We, as Palestinian Embassy, we try to strengthen the Palestinian-Zimbabwe relations in all fields, and nowadays I think we have about 9 MOUs and agreements in studying. We hope that we can sign them as soon as possible. to strengthen the bilateral relations in many fields, especially education, sport, health, agriculture, political consultation. We are trying to do something, and our comrades and our colleagues in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Trade, I think our colleagues there are very active, and they are trying to do something with Palestine. So the great will is very clear from the both sides. And I want to mention something. This embassy is very old embassy. We entered our fifth decade in this country.
Fifth decade?
Yes, we enter, yes. We start our fifth decade in this country. And I want to say that this embassy, as we represent the Palestinian people in Zimbabwe, we also represent the Zimbabwean people in Palestine. You don't have embassy in Palestine, so we share the common values in our two countries. And we can say proudly that we are the friends, as Palestinian ambassador and the staff diplomats here, we are the friends of Zimbabwe. And our official relations, I think we are trying to do something that can help or serve or maintain the relations between our two countries, but also in the social or in the civil community and in the parties. The Palestine, I think, is around, and we are trying to communicate with everybody. You see that the embassy's door is open all the time, even for the young and the students. All the time I receive many of them. We try to do something. This year we have some activities led by the Zimbabwean Palestinian Solidarity Council and shoulder to shoulder with Palestine. I think they are very active here in Harare and in Zimbabwe, and they are trying to do something with our community here just to strengthen the cultural and the solidarity ties between the Palestinian concept and the Zimbabwean concept. And I want to mention something, it's very important, as we mention the solidarity, Palestine all the time pays its solidarity with the Zimbabwean people and the Zimbabwean leadership against sanctions. I can repeat it for 100 times that we are against
sanctions.
The sanctions. And we call all the time to be lifted today before tomorrow, because it's illegal, and especially with what is happening in the world now, we can consider that Zimbabwe is a victim of this kind of sanctions, because the people, the civilians, pay the price and the cost of these sanctions, and we consider it as a kind of the collective punishment. I'm from Palestine. I understand what does it mean to be under embargo or siege, or if you have sanctions. Actually, all the time, the civilians pay the price.
Sure. Your Excellency, it was a pleasure having you on the program. Thank you so much for sharing insights on your own personal life, on the Israeli-Palestine conflict, and also on the bilateral relations between Palestine and Zimbabwe. And we certainly look forward to the strengthening of those relations. Viewers, there we go. We've come to the end of our program, The Diplomat Couch. I was speaking to the Palestine ambassador to Zimbabwe, His Excellency Tamer Almassri, and he has shared insights on the different aspects in terms of our bilateral relations, that's Zimbabwe and Palestine, as well as the conflict between Israel and Palestine and many other issues. Thank you so much for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next episode.